Man Daly.
Yep.
Old Man Daly. He was pretty much a nut, right? I mean, is that exaggerating it? Is that gonzo it?
No, he was just typical for the times. You know. I mean, he probably wasn't no more of a nut than anybody else in that period, that time, that location, under those economic circumstances.
Now, you know, that reminds me of that other old dude that you remember. What was his name? The guy that used to beat spoons?
Well, Joe Johnson.
Tell me about Joe Johnson.
Well, he was an old man from the old school. He lived with his old maid daughter down on Church Street, one of the rented mill houses.
Yeah.
Back then, you could rent a house for $5 a room a month.
Yeah.
$20 a month, 4 rooms.
Yeah.
They put bathrooms in them in the 50s. They come off the farm, he thought they was in heaven.
Yeah.
And old Joe, him and his then becoming old maid daughter, moved in down there.
Yeah.
And there's our next door neighbor.
Oh, your next door neighbor. You remember this guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Joe. Wore overalls, never washed them. They were so dirty. The word was that you could stand them up against a wall
Now,
and they wouldn't fall down.
now, is this? Do you think this is gonzo or is this straight up?
I figure it's true.
Now, you have sat in this old dude's lap, right?
Right. His kick was to take a nickel and beat it with a spoon repetitively. He'd take a spoon and beat a nickel for hours and hours. Why? Because he had nothing else to do. And when he would beat the nickel over and over for periods of hours, he would get fat on the corners. Looked kind of like a washer without the hole drilled out.
Yeah.
And then he would drill it out and make rings. They would look like a ring.
Have you seen this?
Yeah. Yeah, he's made them for me. He did make them for me, right? He died of old age in about mid-60s.
Now he had a Santa Claus beard, right?
Yeah.
And you can remember the funk off him, even as a child?
Yeah. Stuff run down his beard and never washed. And I remember he had an old car shed, old mill double car shed.
Right.
And dirt ground floor in it, not graded, humped and holed. And I remember the distinct smell of tinkle. Old Joe probably either couldn't or wouldn't make it into the facility.
Joe Johnson.
Yeah, old Joe.
And you say you remember his shirts like yellowed collar? Like,
Yeah, oh yeah. Joe had that dead smelling funk to him that you didn't pay that much attention to back then because a lot of people had that back then. Of course, I was so young I didn't know the difference and all that.
Now, growing up in Cliffside and everything, you was a kid, what do you remember about the old town, I guess is a better way to put it, of Cliffside? The Cliffside Cafe. You remember the Cliffside Cafe?
Oh yeah, I hung out in the Cliffside Cafe at a very early age when I went to church.
Yeah.
After church, everybody went down and ate in the buffet line. It's like a meat and 3 bag.
I remember that.
75 cents.
I do remember that,
And
yes.
later on, when I no longer attended the services, I used to hang down there on Saturday night.
Saturday night, how old were you?
7.
Question. Parental supervision? I mean,
No need.
I mean, you were safe, right? I mean,
I felt safe. I don't know if I was safe looking back, considering the element that was getting wheels and all in the mid-60s. But I've never heard of any problems with them, back then.
yeah.
I felt say, I'd walk to the movie on Saturday night, 7 years old, I said about a mile and a half at night, come back at 11 at night, sometimes with Buddy or friends, sometimes not.
Mm-hmm. And what's like an Elvis Presley movie?
Usually Jerry Lewis way out.
That was lame even by kids' standards, wasn't it?
Dracula movies with Christopher Lee. And, you know, typical cheap B movies that they would get in those theaters back then that you could see for a quarter.
Yeah, they were a quarter, right?
Well, except some afternoon, I think you 10 to 15 cents, you know. Evening matinee, I went to a few of those.
Mm-hmm.